Today, I am with Heather Fisk, who is a women's empowerment coach, astrologer, human design expert. She also is an NLP practitioner, EFT practitioner, time techniques practitioner, and certified hypnotherapist. So, Heather, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so excited we're here today.
I'm excited as well.
Today, we're discussing human design, what it is, how we can leverage our human design so that we can live our best, happiest, most fulfilled lives. So, without further ado, Heather, could you give me a little backstory on how you came into this coaching world?
You better believe it. Okay. This whole journey for me started like many, many years ago. But essentially, I spent a lot of my time in my 20s going job for job, progressing my career. I had this real, strong, independent woman energy about me where my career was my number one focus. It was all about not needing a man, not needing anything else, building this dynamic career. I just wanted to be like a director of marketing for some big company, like a powerhouse woman was all I wanted in my identity. And I kept progressing in my career, but I was doing that by moving from company to company because what I really wanted was to find a place where I felt connected, where I was doing something that mattered and something that I was passionate about. And I kept running into kind of like the same issues in every company that I worked for, where I felt like I obviously cared more about the work than the people that I was working with, including my managers, owners of the companies. And I was just living in severe burnout for probably a solid decade, just always stacking more and more on my plate, never being able to say no to anything. And I couldn't figure out why nothing was working the way it was supposed to. I was doing everything the way I'm supposed to, the way that we're told to do things in society. I was being a great professional. I was prioritizing all the right things. I got a good education. I was really working hard to network and build that community to support around me, building a good reputation for myself in the community. I was volunteering. I was being very philanthropic. I was doing all the right things. Yet I wasn't really progressing in my life. I wasn't by the time that I was inching towards 30, I was like, I should be getting ready to put a down payment on a house or being able to go on vacations that I'm seeing all of my friends do, or as you're doom scrolling on Instagram and wondering, why do these people get to live these lavish lives, buy nice things, go on vacations all the time? I'm making a good salary. Why is my life not equaling the same things? I still feel like I'm myself in this stuck old way, even though externally it looks like I have my stuff together and I'm doing really well. So in 2019, I started working as a marketing manager for this big shopping center. And I was like, this is it. This is the place where I'm finally getting what I'm looking for. There's good corporate social responsibility ties to what I'm going to be doing. I'm running this whole marketing department for this big shopping mall, which is where one of my very first jobs was. It felt very full circle. The entire team was so amazing, and I made friends really quickly there. Even across the country, my coworkers in this department were all really amazing. I'm like, this is it. This is where I'm going to be able to plant my roots and really settle into a full-fledged career. So Q 2020, things didn't quite go as planned. Everything shut down, as we know. And I was like, okay, well, once again, upper management isn't really handling this very well. I'm just another cog in the wheel. It seems to be once again, I'm in a position where I care more about what's going on than anyone else does. And I'm feeling burnt out and frustrated still. And I'm getting really caught up in realizing that the problem with each of these jobs was that I was caring so much when nobody else was, because it wasn't mine to I wasn't an entrepreneur, and that's what I'm meant to be doing. So I got the bright idea that I need to take the control back in my life. And I decided, you know what the answer is? A freelance marketing agency. So I spent 2 months trying to build out this company, build out a website, put together package and services. Mind you, during my career, I had a side hustle freelance marketing company with a couple of partners. So this shouldn't have been hard for me to put together because I had already done it once before. Yet for whatever reason, I just couldn't figure it out. So I bought a bundle of courses that I thought would help to motivate me to put these pieces together. And the first one that I went to watch was called The 5 C's of Consistent Income. And I went to click on the course, and I cannot tell you how this happened, but I ended up on a 90-minute masterclass for a neurolinguistic programming certification course. And I thought, hey, that sounds cool. What's that all about? Growing up, I had a friend whose mom was a life coach, and I always thought that was really cool. And actually, when I was in high school, what I wanted to do with my life was to be a family and relationship therapist. But when I talked to an actual therapist to get an idea of what that career looked like, she told me not to bother with it. I would never make it and I would struggle and was very discouraged. So that's actually why I chose marketing as my degree in the field that I worked in, because it's basically a psychology degree. So anyways, I watched this full 90-minute masterclass and I was like shaking and vibrating and felt so electric and excited about this. And like a light went off in my head where I was like, this is what I am meant to do with my life. This is what I have been looking for. And it all makes so much sense. So I called my best friend and I was like, listen, I just found this certification course. Like, I have chills going through me. This feels like exactly what it is that I've been searching for in every job that I've ever had. When I was looking to go to university and study, this looked like what I was actually looking for. I just didn't realize it. And I thought, I'm going to sleep on this tonight. And if I wake up the next morning, then I'm going to invest into the certification program. And if nothing else, I'm going to learn some really amazing skills that I can put into practice for my own life. So I woke up the next morning and I was feeling even more excited about the program. So I invested. So that was at the end of May 2020. 2 weeks later, there was an announcement in the company that I worked for. This was a national across Canada company that 60 people from middle management were being let go. They're being laid off. And then 2 weeks after that, I found out that there was a potential buyer for the physical mall that I was the marketing manager of. So I was like, okay, well, this is really interesting timing as I'm like coming to realize that I'm doing the certification and this is something that I want to do with my life and I want to start a coaching company for myself. So I decide that what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the certification by August 30th. I'm going to open my company on September 1st. And by January 1st, 2021, I will be fully in my coaching business. So cut to July, I get a call from my cluster director, the marketing director that I was working with. And she said that I'm no longer a part of the group. I'm just kind of riding it out solo until the sale of the company goes through. And I thought, well, I haven't heard anything more about this. As far as I've been told by HR, it's still just a potential sale. So this is curious. So I call our HR and he said, no, it's still just a potential sale. You're still part of your cluster. I don't know what your director was talking about, but that's not true. And I thought, well, this is conflicting information. So I just kept plugging away and I'm like even more focused on making sure that I finish my certification in time and that I've got my backup side hustle ready to go. So start of August, I get a call from the gift card side of the company telling me that as of August 30th, my gift card program will be cut off because the company has been sold. And I thought, well, okay, well, once again, like I'm still being told by HR at this point that it's only a potential sale, but it's seeming more and more like for sure that it's happening. So I call HR again. They say, nope, don't know why gift card is getting in touch with you. It's still just a potential sale. And I think, okay, something doesn't seem right. So like mid-August, I finally get a call from HR. They get our whole team together and they tell us that, yes, in fact, the company is sold. It's finalized, and that August 30th will be the last day that we are employed. It's a private sale, so employees weren't negotiated as part of the terms. So the new owners would take possession on September 1st. And they had the option to offer jobs or not. But as of August 30th, we would be unemployed, or we would be laid off. And I thought, wow, if that is not the universe screaming at me, because those are the exact dates that I had set for myself in June, that was what I was going to fall. So I was the first person to get an offer from the new owners. They offered me a job twice, and I turned it down twice. So August 30th was my last day working employed for a corporate marketing company. September 1st, I went out fully on my own and I started HK coaching, and I have not looked back ever since. I have had clients magically coming through my doors, and it is without a doubt the greatest decision that I've ever made.
That is fascinating, Heather. Fascinating. The dates, the synchronicities are just, you can't make that up.
No, and it's like looking back on it, there are points during that specific story that I can look back on and be like, okay, well, this is different. So we're going to get into talking about human design, but I found out soon after, I think it was like September, October 2020, I discovered human design, and I discovered that I was an emotional generator with a 4-6 profile. So what that means for me is like, I'm a workhorse, which explains why I was feeling burnt out for the majority of my 20s, because I was working so hard, because that's what my energy does. But I was pouring it into projects that I didn't align with. So it was sucking the energy out of me instead of fueling the energy in me. And this emotional side of me means that I need to have like 24 hours to give myself space to make decisions, because I ride an emotional wave. So when I made the decision to go and sign up for this neurolinguistic programming, I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And it was the first time in my life that I can say I actually made a decision the right way. I would constantly make decisions where I would have option A and option B. Option A would be the one that I would want to do, and option B would be the one that was very logical, the safe bet, what I should do. And I would always take option B, though part of me always knew that it was wrong and would blow up in my face. I just didn't know when and how, but I would constantly do it. And I was like, why is life so freaking hard? But when I made that decision with human design, I was like, I had a gut physical response through my whole body that was screaming yes. But I gave myself 24 hours just to make sure that it was a yes. And that's exactly how I'm supposed to be making decisions. And then just how it all flowed after that, I was like, okay, so when I make decisions that are right for me in an aligned way, it all just works out, and it all works out so smoothly. And when you pay attention to the signs and synchronicities that are in your life, it just works out for you so much better. And I also realized with the 4-6 profile, that line 6 that I have, it means that I have a 3-phase life, which means the first 30 years of my life are lived like a martyr, where I have to do things my way. I have to learn lessons my way, which can oftentimes mean doing things the hard way. So I had to learn these lessons, and I had to struggle, and I had to go through all these like bumps and get bruises and stuff, because you could tell me what to do, but I wouldn't actually listen to it. I use this analogy all the time of, it's like when you're telling a kid not to touch the stove because it's hot. And the question is like, well, how hot is it? So they have to touch it to figure it out for themselves. That's what the first 30 years of my life were essentially like. I was constantly touching the hot stove.
And then you ran across the bundle code. I am nearly certain you and I purchased the same bundle with that same course.
Oh,
included.
I bet.
Fall of 2020 during lockdown, like during lockdown, all I did was take courses to maintain my sanity.
Yes.
So, because I needed to keep my mind busy doing something. So there was no going out. So I had to do something to stay busy. So I took a ton of courses.
That was a large
certified in a
reason
ton
why.
of stuff.
in the spring of 2020, like the company that I worked for, they essentially told me that I couldn't do anything because they wanted the head office, which is in Montreal, to handle all of the marketing decisions for every mall across the country. Like we couldn't be trusted to do our jobs. And so I had all this time, like I was so incredibly thankful that I had a salary and that I was financially safe and secure. But as somebody whose whole identity was my career, you were basically telling me that I don't have an identity anymore. And I was going through a legitimate crisis at this point. I was like, this can't happen anymore. I'm constantly putting myself in these positions where I'm at the mercy of someone else. And I don't like it. It makes me very uncomfortable and it just doesn't work. And I realize now that I just sincerely was designed not to do any of that.
Isn't that funny? So, how did you find human design then? I know you found NLP, and yes,
Yeah.
Supply was the company with
Yes.
the 5 C's of consistent income with the re-sevens through the Bundle Co. But then how did you find human design?
I genuinely cannot recall. Like finding Yes Supply is like it is a core memory in how I found it and my story with it. With human design, I feel like it found me and I can't remember how it surfaced. I just remember I think it was probably like a post on Instagram and I was like, what is this? And I clicked on a link, I pulled my chart and I have been caught up and lost in it ever since. And it just made me feel so seen and understood. Like I held on to I had a really like negative self story about myself, like really kind of caught up in being at cause in my life, playing the victim. Why is everything so hard for me? Why like I pour so much of myself into everything, yet no one else cares as much as I do, or things don't work out as I hope they do. Am I seriously like made to just struggle and suffer through this lifetime? And that was actually something that I experienced in the summer of 2017. I had like just one hit after another of like absolute devastation. I hit like a rock bottom emotionally in my life in 2017, where there was like one night that I remember having like what felt like a really dark conversation with myself. That was like, is this really it? Is this really all I get to have in my life? Because if it is, what is the point? Nobody should be like made to like experience life this way. And so I started to think like all of the people in my life, they have all these opportunities and they get to do all these things with their lives. How is it that I'm made so much different? And like, what if I tried something different? What if I tried looking at what I'm doing and working on myself emotionally and starting to do things that way? And that was the first time that I started looking at things like personal development and listening to podcasts and watching YouTube videos, reading every book I could get my hand on, reading every blog post, making like vision boards on Pinterest. And then in 2018, I started seeing my first therapist and I hired a life coach and I went to the Landmark Forum, which is like a 4-day seminar retreat that actually uses a lot of the same principles that NLP does. And I just became like a personal development like junkie. I couldn't get enough of it, but I was so heavy into doing it for myself. And I loved talking about all these things with other people and finding people that were working on themselves. So that's why when I found NLP, I was like, this makes so much sense because this is what lights me up. This is what I love to do. I love to hype people up and make people feel better and to feel like the best versions that they can be. And when human design came into my life, it kind of made me realize why I was having all of these negative stories that were going on and spiraling in myself. And that it wasn't that I was designed to suffer. It's that I was living so out of alignment in my life. I was able to disassociate from that stories and making everything my fault or thinking that something was fundamentally wrong with me, and understanding how I could like grab a hold of the wheel and take control again in my life and start making the shifts that were so important and so necessary for me to start living just more fuller, freer, lighter, happier. And what I started to notice was just things started falling into place for me. And my life at one point in time felt like an uphill battle, so much to the point my dad once said that it was like I was pushing a boulder uphill and my brother was dancing on top of it. And that's genuinely how I felt in my life. Like I was pushing a boulder uphill and it was like crushing me. And now I don't even remember who that version of me was. Like she seems like such a foreign version of myself because my life is like 180 degrees different. My life is so much more easeful. I used to have chronic like back, neck, and shoulder pain. At least once a month, I used to get like a baseball sized knot underneath my left shoulder blade that would radiate up my neck and down my back to the point where I couldn't move. And I can't remember the last time that I had a knot in my back or I felt really sore in that way. And yeah, I used to get migraines all the time. It's been years since I've had a migraine because I know how to regulate my nervous system and I know how to work with my body and my energy. And so I don't carry that stress and anxiety and burnout feeling anymore. I've really shown up for myself and I have all these tools in my toolkit now to really help like balance my energy and keep it all calm and loose and fancy free.
So, what is the most interesting thing to you about human design? You know NLP and hypnotherapy and EFT and all the same things I do because we went through the same certification. But you went down this human design path too.
Yes.
And that's a completely different rabbit hole.
Yes, it is. What I find most interesting about human design is that it's literally like a user manual for your life. And it's something that makes total sense for everyone. Like a lot of things like your chakra system, or like I also like have been a lifelong like astrology, somebody who's loved astrology and studied it my whole life. But more seriously over the last few years, and even looking at your natal chart, there's just so many ambiguous ways to like look at it and interpret it. There is science to it, but there's so much art to it. And with human design, it's just all encompassing and it is what it is. And I think that's why it's so potent and powerful. And it just makes so much sense. I have yet to meet someone who learns about their human design who doesn't walk away from it being like, oh, I feel seen and everything makes sense now. Like an aha moment turns on for them. And it's just because it explains who you are, how you operate, the major themes in your life, how to use your energy. Like you can even figure out like how you're supposed to manifest things in your life, how to help digest things like information and food. It just explains every part of your life and you can go deeper and deeper and deeper. It's like a never-ending cycle of learning of how to be your best self.
So I'm curious, in your coaching, since you have all the same tools that I do, and then some different set of tools, how do you incorporate astrology and human design into your coaching sessions to accompany NLP and EFT and hypnosis and all these things that we know? Because really, it's just like having an expanded toolkit. Yeah. Like all of these tools work together to build a house, which is somebody's happiest life, right? If you're making that analogy. And these are just different tools you can pull out of your toolbox to help them achieve their end goal.
Yes.
Their desired outcome.
Love this question. I call it the voodoo method. So what this is a combination of using like these spiritual tools along with our mindset connection and practical action. So I use human design as a foundational tool. It's where we begin. And I call it like our reality check. So we start by doing a human design reading so that my clients can get a really solid understanding of who they have been designed to be and how they can make better decisions in their lives, how they can use their energy appropriately, and understanding like how they interact with other people, their communication styles, like when you start by understanding exactly who you are, you can get to what then I call the life audit, where you understanding exactly what exists for you now, what you were meant to have in existence, and what you desire to have in your existence. And you can kind of figure out like what needs to fall away to make room for what you want to bring into your life. And when you start with that extraordinarily strong foundation, then we layer in the tools like NLP, hypnosis, EFT, time techniques, our coaching strategies. We layer those on to release the BS that you no longer need in your life, the limiting beliefs, decisions, patterns, and then you rewire to really powerful and empowering ones instead. And then you start integrating those pieces into your life and then creating momentum moving forward. And it's about taking those practical actions to actually start like using the law of attraction and getting the ball moving and rolling into your life. And then astrology, I layer in as keeping like an energy check of what's going on in the cosmos at this moment. Because we all know, like, when Mercury retrograde hits, it hits, honey. We feel it. We're about to go into an eclipse portal. We're feeling it, honey. So, especially when we understand how our energy works, and then we have an idea of what's going on in the cosmos and the energy that's impacting us there. It's just learning how to use all these bits of information to make better decisions that align for us and set ourselves up for success.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so cool. It's just like all of it has come together, and I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense. Everyone needs to know this.
I love it. I sense that on a future episode, we're going to go down several different rabbit holes, including law of attraction, because I'm big into that, all the things. I'm so excited.
Yes, we could do like a whole thing about universal laws, baby. I love them.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Well, if you liked this video and you love Heather as much as I do, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss anything, and check out our links below, because Heather and I both have ways so you can get in touch with us and go even deeper to learn even more. So thanks so much, Heather. Until next time.